Why do humans have a dominant hand? Think about it. Most of us don't even question why we might rely more on one hand than the other. But the story behind this everyday phenomenon is far more fascinating than you might expect. In today's video, we're going to dig deep into the science, history, and psychology of hand dominance to uncover the mysteries behind this lefty-righty world. First, let's set the stage with some dazzling statistics. About 90% of the global population is right-handed, while only about 10% are left-handed, and approximately 1% of people are ambidextrous, meaning they have no clear hand preference. These numbers are remarkably consistent across cultures and throughout history, suggesting that hand dominance is a universal human trait. But why? The answer lies in a mix of biology, evolution, and culture. The roots of hand dominance begin in the brain. Our brain is divided into two hemispheres, the left and the right. Each hemisphere controls the opposite side of the body, meaning your left brain controls your right hand and your right brain controls your left hand. Interestingly, the left hemisphere, which controls the right hand, is also the center for language and fine motor skills in about 90% of people. This connection hints that the dominance of the left hemisphere might naturally favor a preference for the right hand. This theory, often called the lateralization of brain functions, explains a lot but still leaves room for questions. Now, a pressing inquiry. Is hand dominance genetic? Yes, but it's complicated. Scientists have discovered that genetics play a role in determining your dominant hand, but it's not as clear-cut as eye or hair color inheritance. Researchers have identified several genes that seem to influence hand preference, but none act as a definitive handedness gene. Instead, it appears that multiple genes working in concert, along with environmental factors, decide whether you'll grow up a righty or a lefty. Let's talk evolution, because this is where things get really fascinating. Why would evolution favor right-handedness? One hypothesis is the tool use hypothesis. Early humans who used tools more efficiently with one hand might have been better hunters, gatherers, or skillful artisans, which could have given them a survival advantage. Over time, this preference for a dominant hand, primarily the right hand, could have become ingrained in our species. But left-handedness isn't a disadvantage. Research has uncovered several evolutionary advantages for left-handers, particularly in physical activities requiring quick reflexes. For example, studies of ancient fencing and modern sports like baseball or tennis show that left-handers have an edge in one-on-one confrontations. Why? Because they've always been in the minority. Their movements are less familiar and harder for right-handed opponents to predict. This phenomenon, often referred to as strategic advantage, adds an interesting twist to the story. Cultures across the world have varied in their treatment of hand dominance. In many societies, right-handedness has historically been seen as the norm, and sometimes even as morally superior. For centuries, left-handedness was viewed with suspicion, stigma, and myths. The Latin word for left is sinistra, which also gives us the modern word sinister. Educational practices in the past even attempted to force naturally left-handed children to write with their right hands, often causing confusion and frustration. Thankfully, we've come a long way in understanding that left-handedness is as normal as right-handedness. And what about ambidexterity, being equally skilled with both hands? It's rare, occurring in about 1% of the population. Ambidextrous people may be able to switch between hands for tasks effortlessly, but this doesn't mean they lack a dominant hand entirely. Instead, their brains might simply have more balanced lateralization, allowing both hemispheres to share the load of control more equally. Here's a question you might be wondering. Can you train yourself to become ambidextrous? Technically, yes, but with caveats. Training your non-dominant hand can improve its motor skills for certain tasks, and rehabilitation experts often use such methods to assist patients recovering from strokes or injuries. However, it's unlikely you'll ever achieve perfect symmetry unless you were naturally born ambidextrous. Modern neuroscience has added some eye-opening dimensions to this age-old topic. For example, brain imaging studies show that left-handers tend to have a more symmetrical brain architecture compared to right-handers. This difference could explain why some left-handers are associated with higher levels of creativity or divergent thinking. However, these are general trends, not rigid rules. Right-handers can be creative thinkers too. Think Leonardo da Vinci or Pablo Picasso, both of whom were probably right-handed. That brings us to the million-dollar question. Does hand dominance affect intelligence or personality? The short answer is no. Hand dominance is not directly linked to your IQ or your capacity for success. Both right-handers and left-handers are capable of achieving incredible feats in any field. In fact, many famous individuals defy stereotypes. Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Marie Curie, and Albert Einstein are just a few examples of left-handed luminaries who made monumental contributions to the world. But here's one area where hand dominance might matter: health. Studies suggest left-handed people are slightly more prone to certain health conditions, like dyslexia and some autoimmune disorders. However, they may also have advantages in spatial awareness tasks, which could explain the prevalence of left-handers in fields like architecture, engineering, and the arts. It's a mixed bag, reminding us that no trait is universally better or worse. Let's dive deeper into the world of mirror handwriting, a skill some left-handers like Leonardo da Vinci naturally develop. Mirror writing is when words are written backward and can only be read properly in a mirror. This peculiar ability might arise because the motor skills controlling writing are more integrated across both hemispheres in left-handers. Isn't that mind-blowing? Before we wrap up, let's not forget about animals. Did you know that hand, or rather paw, dominance exists in the animal kingdom too? Research shows that dogs, cats, and even kangaroos often favor one paw over the other. However, unlike humans, their right side preference isn't as overwhelmingly dominant. Interesting parallels, right? In summary, the saga of why humans have a dominant hand is like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from biology, culture, evolution, and neuroscience. It's about our brain's hemispheric asymmetry, genetic predispositions, and the challenges and adaptations of survival. And while most of us don't think twice about using our dominant hand, understanding its complexities reminds us what a marvelous feat of evolution and adaptation it truly is. So, which hand holds the pen, or these days, swipes your phone screen? For you? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more Why Facts videos, where we unravel the mysteries behind everyday phenomena. See you next time.